Hello, this is Ms. Brown, and I am going to do a review for you on speed. I heard that you are having a little bit of trouble with understanding speed and calculating speed. So what I'm going to do is go over the definition of speed and then do some practice problems, and hopefully this will help you. And I will make all of these notes that I'm doing available to you. Email them to your parents so that you have them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so when we're talking about speed, we want to define speed. Okay, so basically speed, and my pen's not working. Okay, so speed is the distance an object travels per unit of time. Okay, so it's the distance an object travels per unit of time. Okay, so what is the formula for calculating speed? I'm going to write it two different ways, and then when I do the practice problems, I'm going to use both formulas to kind of give you two different ways to calculate speed, and hopefully that will help you. So speed is distance divided by time. And another way you can write it is in a triangle. So we have distance here, speed, and time. So when you do it in the triangle, if you want to know speed, you put your finger over the S and it gives you the formula, distance divided by time. Okay, so when they're on above each other, let me get another pen here. So when they're up and down like this, you would divide. Okay. So speed is distance divided by time. Okay, so moving on, what two pieces of information do you need to calculate speed? Well, if speed is the distance an object travels per unit of time, the two things you need to calculate speed are distance and time. You need both. All right, and then the last part, name three different distance units. Okay, units that we use for distance and for time. So for distance, the main unit is meters, which we represent with an M, or miles, which we represent with an MI. Okay. The units are important, and I'll go over that when I work through some of the speed problems. Okay, then for time, the units we use are hours, which we represent HR, and seconds. And we represent seconds with just an S. Okay? And like I said, these units will become important once we start working through some of the practice problems. Okay, so that's a good foundation to kind of understand what speed is. So we're going to work through some practice problems, and this will hopefully make it a little bit clearer for you. Okay, so the way I'm going to do these problems, this is a strategy that I use when I walk through and teach this to my 8th graders. Okay, so first thing we need to do is read the question, and then we'll write down our formula. So it says a squirrel travels 156 meters in 13 seconds. What is the average speed of the squirrel in meters per second? So those are your units. Okay, so what I always tell my students do is to break down and look at the question, break down the information that you have. Okay, so you have 156 meters. That is equal to your distance. And you have 13 seconds. That is your time. Right? So it's asking you to find speed. So right there, if you follow this strategy, you've already broken down the information that you need. It's asking for average speed, so you've underlined your distance in meters and you've circled your time. So I'm going to write that up here. We're going to underline distance in the problem, and then we're going to circle time. All right. So now there's two ways that you can do this problem. Okay. So since they're asking you to find speed, draw your triangle. And let me go back to that. So remember we said you can use this triangle to calculate speed, distance divided by time. So let's write that here. Okay, and then this is the short version. All right, so we come over here. Your speed is equal to your distance, which is 156 meters, divided by your time, which is 13 seconds. Okay, I want to stop there and tell you that it's always a good idea when you are putting down your information into your formula. So this is your formula, and you plugged in your numbers, just kind of like you do in math. It's always a good idea to include your units, okay? So because whenever you are calculating speed, you need to write in your units, whether it's going to be meters per second, which is what they ask for, or miles per hour. And we talked about units a little bit. They always will give you the units in the question, so it's always a good idea to write that out. Okay, so now we do the math. So your speed is equal to, let me grab my calculator. Okay. All right, so my speed is equal to, okay, I'm trying to do it so you can see. Okay, so your distance, which was 156, divided by, oops, not multiply, divided by your time, which is 13 seconds. Okay, your answer here is 12. So your speed is 12, and here are your units, meters per second. Okay, over here in the problem, they actually tell you what the units are. Okay, another way that you can do this problem is to use your triangle and plug the numbers into the triangle. Okay, so we know that distance goes on top, so we write 156. Speed is what we're looking for, and they give you the time of 13 seconds. Okay, now when they're up and down, you would divide. Okay, so you're still going to get 12 meters per second. Okay, when you write it out like this, you always will, if you write it with the units, you always will have the units here. Here you can write the units into the triangle as well. I'll do that on the next one because I didn't make my triangle big enough. Okay, next question. It says it takes 6 hours for Kate's family to travel to her grandparents' house. Her grandparents live 630 miles away. What is the average speed in kilometers per hour on the trip to her grandparents' house? Okay. So we said we were going to underline distance and we were going to circle time. So it takes Kate's family 6 hours. Okay, circle that. That is your time. Okay. And it says her grandparents live 630 kilometers away. So we're going to underline that. Your distance is 630 kilometers. Okay. All right. So speed is what we're looking for. So let's do the triangle on this one. Okay. So we know that speed is distance. So your distance here is 630 and 30 kilometers. Your speed is what we're looking for, and your time is 6 hours. So speed is distance divided by time. So we're going to take 630 and divide it by 6. $105. So your answer would be 105, and then your units, kilometers per hour. So you wrote them here, and they're also in the problem for you. Okay. Let's move on. We're going to do several examples. All right, so a hummingbird flies 40 kilometers in 30 minutes. What is the hummingbird's average speed in kilometers per hour? All right, so we're going to underline distance and circle time. So a hummingbird flies 40 kilometers. 40 kilometers, that's your distance. Okay, in 30 minutes, that's your time. And it wants to know what's the average speed in kilometers per hour. Okay, so we're going to come over here. So we're going to write out our formula. Speed is distance divided by time. So let's plug in our numbers. Our distance is 40 kilometers divided by your time, which is 30 minutes. Okay. So let's put these numbers into the calculator. So 40 divided by 30 is 1.33 kilometers per minute. Okay. Now, I just noticed on this problem that it asks for kilometers per hour instead of kilometers per minute. So that does change up the math just a little bit, but I'm going to just change this and we're going to make this kilometers per minute. So I don't want to confuse you with conversions. So kilometers per minute. Okay. Okay, so we're going to look at this one, and I'm going to change this to kilometers per minute. Okay, so the neighborhood park is 6 kilometers away from Jill's house. It takes Jill 30 minutes to ride to the park on her bike. What is Jill's average speed on her trip to the park in kilometers per minute? So it's asking for speed. So write our formula, distance divided by time. Okay, so let's read our question and get our information. So the park is 60 kilometers away. I'm sorry, 6 kilometers away. Sorry about that. We're going to underline our kilometers, that's distance. Okay, and it says it takes Jill 30 minutes to ride her bike to the park. So 30 minutes, that's our time. So the information we have is our distance is 6 kilometers and our time is 30 minutes. And I'm just going to put MIN. All right. So let's come over here. Let's do the triangle this time. And you pick which method works for you. I just wanted to show you a couple of different ways to do it. Okay, so your distance. Speed is distance divided by time. Oops, let's see. Draw it over here. Okay, so our distance goes at the top, which is 6 kilometers. Speed is what we're looking for, and our time is 30 minutes. Okay, and I have to go down to the bottom here. So our speed is going to be equal to 6 divided by 30. So I'm going to put that in here. 6, oops, not 66, 6 divided by 30, 0.20. So our speed is 0.20 kilometers per minute. Okay, and one thing I teach my students is it's always a good idea with all the math that you do to circle your answer. Okay, let me zoom out. All right, so here's another worksheet. I'm going to do one more, and then hopefully, I hope this is helping you to understand it. Okay, so let's come over here. Let's do our triangle. Okay, and then we're going to underline distance and circle time. And like I said, this is just a really good strategy to use because it helps you to identify the information in the problem. All right, here we go. Calculate the speed of a turtle that has walked 280 centimeters in 7 seconds. Centimeters is another unit that you will see for speed, but your most common units are going to be meters, miles, and kilometers. Okay, so don't let that throw you at all. Okay, so it wants the speed. So speed, distance divided by time. So let's break our question down. So it wants the speed. The turtle walked 280 centimeters. That's your distance. And the time was 7 seconds. So speed is equal to distance, 280 centimeters, divided by the time, 7 seconds. So the speed of the turtle Alright, so speed of the turtle is 280 divided by 7. So his speed was 40 centimeters per second. And here again, like I said, if you write your units in as you solve the problem, you'll have them in your answer, and then we'll circle the answer. All right. Next one, calculate the speed of a person that biked 12,500 meters in 50 minutes. Okay, so 12,500 meters, that's an indication of distance. 50 minutes, that's your time. So over here, speed is distance divided by time. So your speed is going to be equal to 12,500, tongue tie here, divided by your time, 50 minutes. All right. So 12,500 divided by 50, 250. So I'm going to write it over here. So your speed is 250. Don't forget your units. Meters per minute. And we're going to circle our answer. All right, last question. Calculate the speed of an airplane that flew 1,000 miles in 4 hours. All right, so underline distance, circle time. So speed is what they're looking for. All right, so an airplane that flew 1,000 miles, it's your distance, in 4 hours, that's your time. Okay, so your speed is equal to 1,000 miles I'm going to put MI, divided by your time, 4 hours. So let's do the math. 1,000 miles divided by 4 hours, 250 miles per hour. Okay, so I hope that these practice problems and the explanation was helpful for you. I will, let me write my email address on here. In case you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. Okay, that's my email, kathleen.brown@cfisd.net. So if you have any further questions or would like me to walk through this again with you, that's fine. Whatever I can do to help, just please let me know. And I hope this explanation helped, and I hope you and your family are staying safe.